ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਐਲਨ ਗਲੈਸਰ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ UBC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਲੀਨਿਕਲ ਇੰਸਟ੍ਰਕਟਰ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਫਾਰਮਾਸਿਸਟ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਰਹੇਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਲੱਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਐਬਜ਼ੌਰਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਧਿਆਨ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਓ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਐਲਨ ਗਲੈਸਰ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ।
Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you. So today we would like to know, how do drugs, the supplements and the food we get, how do they absorb in our body? What is the mechanism and what we should know about it?
Well, the key thing with how drugs come into our body, it's simple. There's only a limited number of ways. Number one, with most people are used to, is you take it by mouth. Right? Whether it's a liquid or a capsule, you take it by mouth. Number two, which is the most common, is you get an injection. So you got a flu shot, or you've got a other kind of injection, antibiotics. So it's right through the skin. Number three, which is common, is rectally. So we have suppositories. We have drugs that are in that form where it's inserted rectally. And number four, now there are some intranasal ones where we actually spray it into our nose. The flu shot, so we can be immunized against the flu that way. So those are the most common. And for most people, it's either liquids or suppositories that you'll find over the counter or on prescription.
Right. So where are these drugs absorbed when we take them, of course, by the various methods what you have said? Where does this go and how it gets absorbed in our body?
Okay, so our biggest absorption, obviously, when you take it by mouth, is by the gut.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, it's not in the stomach. There's actually only one drug that we ingest in our stomach, and I'll tell that in a minute. So we absorb everything below the stomach in our intestines. The other thing, of course, we can absorb right through the skin. We have nitroglycerin patches, which many people are on, where they absorb the nitro through the skin. There are many more products coming available that will be able to be absorbed through the skin.
Right.
We even have some anti-nauseants you put behind your ear. Scopolamine patches, they're called.
Okay.
Obviously, we've mentioned injections with the needle and rectally. The biggest drug, the sole drug that's absorbed in our stomach first, is alcohol.
Okay.
And that's why people find that when you have an empty stomach, obviously you're going to feel the effects of alcohol much quicker than when you have a full stomach, because it gets absorbed right away. So that's a little aha. So if you are drinking, if you drink on a full stomach, you won't feel the effects as quickly.
Right.
Versus drinking on an empty stomach, where everything's absorbed
immediately,
right away.
Right.
And it's not instant. So now, knowing that when you take a pill to when you get relief, they can't be instant. It has to be absorbed in the stomach. It has to be digested in the stomach.
Right.
And broken down into little smaller pieces. Then when it's emptied into our lower intestine, that's where absorption happens.
Right.
We've got the body's been built to absorb all the nutrients from the lower gut, and the stomach's job is to, one, protect us from bacterial infection, because it's really acid. That acid bath that's there will kill hopefully the viruses and bacteria that might be on our food, and then it absorbs it lower down.
Right. So that's interesting. So basically, does it make a difference, Alan, that you're taking a liquid or a pill? Does the liquid get absorbed earlier as compared to the pill?
Yes. The short answer is the liquid's already got finely divided a drug or a nutrient. It will pass through the stomach much quicker.
Right.
Obviously, nothing's really going to be broken down a lot by the acid, and it can get to be absorbed much sooner.
Why is it important to take the medication as prescribed or written on the label when we see it, and why is dosing important?
Okay, so one of the things, if we take it by mouth, for example, the first thing you got to do is, it will say many times, take with a glass of fluid, whether
Yeah.
that's water or juice or something. That's because the esophagus, that's the pipe
Right.
from basically here down into your stomach, isn't a straight plastic pipe. It's actually a muscle tube. It's got, if you look at your the fingers in your hand and you
Yeah.
see all those ridges in there, you can just think that the tube here, these muscles contract, these muscles contract, these muscles contract. So think of it as almost like a snake. You've seen pictures of a snake eating a rabbit or some other thing.
Right.
It's passing down this long tube and getting smaller and smaller. Well, it actually, what you swallow, that pill, that tablet, that capsule, that liquid, is going down our esophagus, but it's being helped down by these muscle contractions.
Right.
And if you avoid taking fluids, it could be stuck. That tablet or capsule can be stuck on one of these little ridges.
Right.
It can irritate those ridges and it can cause a bleed, worst case. Depends on the drug.
Right.
So it's so important. Number one thing, that 6 to 8 ounce glass of usually water when you take your pill. Many people I know, they got a headache and they just take a Tylenol or an aspirin or Advil, whatever, and they don't swallow any fluids. They think it's okay. It's not. Number one, remember it only gets absorbed in our lower intestine, which is way down here.
Right.
It has to go down the pipe first. It
Right.
could be slow. It could sit there, delay your experience of pain relief,
Right.
and it could irritate the esophagus. So that's the whole point. You want the quickest possible action. Always take it with a big glass of water, 6 to 8 ounces. That's the number one thing that people need to understand of any medicine, of any over-the-counter product, or any prescription drug.
Right.
Big glass of water to wash it down the esophagus to get it to start to work.
And as you said, about the doses, like when doctors recommend and you make the medicine according to what the doctor has prescribed.
Right.
Like we generally many times skip it, or if we get well, then we leave it. We might not complete the full dosage as directed. So why is dosage important?
Okay, so our medicines, especially prescription and non-prescription drugs, have been tested to see at what dose they work best at for the majority of the population.
Okay.
Now, there's always a few people who needs a higher dose, and there's always a very few people who need a lower dose.
Right.
But for the majority, that's what the dose is done. So if it says 500 milligram tablet or 1 tablet or 2 tablets a day,
Right.
Number one, you don't want to take more. Number two, if you take less, you may not get the response. The biggest thing, if you're on an antibiotic, which is very common, one of the most common visits to the doctor of any age, is you got an infection.
Right.
It's a bacterial infection which we can treat. If it's a virus, we can't treat that right now. The common cold, we still don't treat it. We treat the symptoms. But if you have an infection in your chest, in your ear, on the skin, wherever it is, you'll be given a prescription by the doctor. It'll say 500 milligrams twice a day, or
Right.
500 milligrams or 400 milligrams once a day.
For 5 days or 7 days, whatever.
That's correct. So we know from our studies that it will take the total of 5 to 7 days to kill the bug and so not have it come back.
Right.
What's the consequence of you deciding, in 2 days, I feel better.
Right.
And you stop.
Stop it.
So what you've done is this. You've exposed the bug to an antibiotic.
Right.
You have not killed all the bacteria.
Okay.
Okay? They're still alive in there. Now, the symptoms you have gone, absolutely, because we really hammered it so that we made 80% of the bugs disappear, so they're not going to bother you. And then what happens, of course, 20% of the bugs have been exposed to this drug that didn't die. Those ones now could be resistant to this antibiotic you just took in as short as that 2-day exposure.
Okay.
And if your body owns defenses, can't destroy the rest of the bugs,
Right.
now they're resistant. Now you can't take the same drug again. You can't take the same antibiotic. That can happen.
Right.
You got to get a different one that'll take longer, that'll cost more money, that might have more side effects.
Right.
So that's the consequence of stopping early. It's a possibility. So that's why you want to take it for the full 5 days, because we know if you do the full 5 days,
Right.
you've got 99% of the infection gone, and your body can handle the rest.
Great. That is really interesting. Thank you very much for your information. Thank you.
Thank you.
ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਲਨ ਗਲਾਸਰ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੈਡੀਸਿਨਸ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ। ਮੂੰਹ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਪਰੇਅ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇੰਜੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲਵਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੱਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਇਹ ਅਬਜ਼ੌਰਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਪਿਲਸ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਾਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇਸਲ ਸਪਰੇਅ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਦਵਾਈ ਲਿਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਹਾਂ। ਤਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੀ ਕਿ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਮੈਡੀਸਨ ਨੂੰ ਅਬਜ਼ੌਰਬ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਮਾਲ ਇੰਟੈਸਟਾਈਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦਵਾਈ ਆਪਣਾ ਅਸਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਡੋਸੇਜ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਰਿਕਮੈਂਡ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਦਵਾਈ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਣੀ, ਕਿੰਨੀ ਡੋਜ਼ ਲੈਣੀ ਹੈ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਵਾਈ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਰ ਐਲਨ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੋਰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਐਂਟੀਬਾਇਓਟਿਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੈਜ਼ਿਸਟੈਂਟ ਕਰਤੇ ਉਹ ਬਗਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ, ਜੇਕਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਹੀ ਦਵਾਈ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਸੋ ਪੂਰੀ ਡੋਸੇਜ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਕਹੇਗੀ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਵਾਈ ਖਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਵਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਹੀ ਹਾਂ, ਤਾਂ ਪਾਣੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਪੀਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਉਹ ਦਵਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਬਜ਼ੌਰਬ ਕਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਣੀ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੀਂਦੇ, ਉਹ ਦਵਾਈ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਅੜ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਰਿਕਮੈਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਹੀ ਦਵਾਈ ਖਾਣੀ ਛੱਡਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ।